Hello and welcome to Scratch Day. I'm so excited you're here. Today is an online version of Scratch Day. It's just like a normal Scratch Day, conveniently brought to your living room. My name is Ido Tuckman, and I have to tell you guys, I'm a little nervous. I've never done a live stream before. I've just set up this camera setup a few days ago. Have no idea what I'm doing. So if there are any technical issues, just make a comment in the chat. I have Bex over there monitoring the chat. So if there's volume issues or video issues or anything, just let us know. And there's a little delay on the chat, but we'll try and fix it. I'm hoping that you can hear everything. And Bex, do you want to come over and say hi so that we say hello to people? Hey, this is Bex. Hi, Bex.
Hi.
Hey, so Bex is going to help me out. She's got a Lucky Coding shirt on, just like I do. Taco Cats, right?
Yeah.
Very nice. And it's Bex's birthday in a couple of days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's a little bummed because she's a huge fan of Hamilton, right?
Yeah.
And we had tickets to see Hamilton on her birthday, but the show got canceled.
Don't go here. Don't go there.
No, we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. But if anybody wants to, wish Bex a happy birthday, I'm sure she'll appreciate it, right?
Yes.
Yeah? All right. Oh, we have to make sure we're practicing proper social distancing.
Oh,
Do you remember?
Yes.
There's a tape measure in the toolbox over there, Bex. Can you hand me one in? Here, let's see how far we are from the camera. Okay, what do you read?
7 feet.
7 feet. Okay, we're good. You guys at home don't have to move back or anything. Actually, you can even move forward a little bit. It's totally cool, right?
Yeah.
And
Hi, Annika. I saw you in the chat.
all right, let's get this day started. So one of the things I want to do during Scratch is share projects. That's like my favorite part of Scratch Day. And I have in the comment section of the video, we have a link to our studio. And if you want to share a Scratch project with the audience, feel free. It doesn't have to be done specifically for Scratch Day. It's anything that you're proud of. And we'll check in on the studio and highlight some of the projects that we see there. So what I'll do is I'll quickly check in on the studio right now. Hang on a second. Let me switch screens. Oh, here we are. So this is the Scratch Day Studio. If you don't know how to share a project in the studio, there are instructions on the left side of the studio, right here. And let's go take a look at some of the projects that people have shared. So I'm going to click on this project here. This is by Crazy Doodlefish, and it says Secret Agent Scratch Cat. I'm gonna hit. We have to look at the instructions. Create a secret message using the cipher wheel. Press the green button to start. Use left and right arrow to turn the wheel, and hit space bar to enter your message. So let's take a look. So I'm gonna use the left and right. This is so cool. I love this graphic, how it's turning the wheel. And plain test. I'm gonna hit space. I'll write hello. And my coded message is the hack. I don't know what that is. Oh, I guess it's changing every letter that is in my real message into some kind of offset with the cipher text value. That's really cool. Nice job, Crazy Doodlefish. All right, let's see what else we have in our studio. We've got a kaleidoscope drawing. This is also by Crazy Doodlefish. Very nice. So I'm going to try. Oh, this is so cool. I love this project. And then you can hit clear. All right, that's really cool. Plane simulator. Let's go check this one out. Use left and right arrow keys to move. So looks like I'm flying my plane. Oh, and you get to... I'm not sure if you're supposed to hit the clouds or not, but it has a count of the clouds. What happens if I crash the plane? Oh!
Game over.
All right, that was really cool. So it's a really fun game, and it looks like it's sped up as you went along. Let's look at the next one over here. This is by Scratch J7. It's called Beatles Taken Literally.
Hey Jeff, can you give
And
me a hand? Sure.
there's a
Paul.
headphone warning.
We don't love to change the world. When I was younger, so much younger than today, I never needed
This is such a cool project. I can't play the whole thing. I'm gonna definitely watch the whole thing when we're done with the Scratch Day event. But this is a really great animation. I can see you put a lot of work into it. So Scratch J7, thumbs up for me. One more. Let's do one more. Let's do Cave Maze. Cave Maze by Brian Coder. Oh, look at this. It looks like I'm moving a baby chick in a maze. And oh, you can touch the characters and they change animation. And it looks like you have to get, of course you have to get to the taco to win. That is awesome. Brian Coder, amazing job. Nice work. I love it. All right. Well, let me switch back here to this background. So before we get started with the code along, which is a really cool part of our program today, I just want to thank some sponsors of Scratch Day. The first sponsor is my bathroom, because when kids are home out of school, sometimes the only refuge you have is a locked door in a bathroom. So thank you, my bathroom. And the other sponsor today is baseball bats. Baseball bats, nature's natural child repellent. I always keep my trusty baseball bat right behind me when I work. So thank you to our sponsors today. So like I said, we're going to do a code along. And, oh, sorry, one second. We're going to do a code along. And to do the code along, now the link is in the description of the video, but it's going to be scratch.mit.edu. And you want to pull this screen up when we're coding along. And what I would recommend is that you have this video on one window and the Scratch window on the Scratch screen on another window, so that you can watch me code and also code yourself to do the code along. You don't have to. You can just watch the video and code it later. And if you're having any problems following along on the video, you can always hit pause. You can go backwards. You can play it again. So don't get stressed out if you get lost. You can always pause. It's like a DVR, whatever that is, and you can take your time to make the project that we're going to be working on. And for today's project, I was thinking of recreating a game that I never really played when I was a kid, but I always wanted to. Let me show you what it looks like. So this is the game that when I was in elementary school, kids would bring that to class or during lunch or something and play it. I think it was called a gamepad or something, but it was pretty low tech. So in this game, what you would do is you would have to rescue these guys falling out of a burning building, and you had some kind of trampoline thing to make them bounce before they hit the ground. If they hit the ground, you would lose a life, but if you could catch them, they would make it all the way to the ambulance, which actually looks like a very roomy ambulance because it's holding a lot of people. So I'm thinking of recreating this game using Scratch. And what we'll do is we'll go into Scratch and we'll code this up. Hopefully it'll be successful. And then the person who had this game when I was a kid, her name was Susie, and she never let me play it. That's why I want to recreate it. So hopefully we'll make a better game, and then I could stick it to Susie. So I'm going to go to the Scratch website right now. Oh, and so here's what I would suggest. If you're coding along, I would suggest having two screens, one with our live stream here, and then you would have the Scratch screen on next to it so that you could code along. But let me get rid of this, and I'll try and make this full screen here. There we go. So this is my Scratch screen, and I'm already logged in. So I'm already logged in here with Busy Labs. If you have a Scratch account, make sure that you're logged in so the code that you're working on gets saved. And if you're not logged in, that's okay too, because you can still create a project, and you could save it to your desktop or computer, and work with it. And then once you create an account, you can just load it into your account. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Create, and I'm going to click on Create. So let's go here, and I'm going to create a project. Let's call it, I don't know, Scratch Day. Okay, so I just named it Scratch Day over here. And let me just, for those of you who are new to Scratch, I'm just going to quickly run through what you're seeing on the screen right now. So Scratch is divided into several areas. One area to the right on the top here, this is the stage area. This is where all the action happens. Just like a show where you have a stage, this is all your characters are going to go. This is all where the action is going to happen. And speaking of characters, below the stage, in this area, this is where you set your scene and you add characters to the stage. Scratch calls them sprites. So we have one sprite here, this cat sprite, and the cat sprite is on stage. Now, to the very left, we have the coding blocks that you see over here, and those are used to actually program your sprites. So if you want the sprites to do anything on stage, you just drag and drop code into the coding area, which is this big empty section right here. And you have to make sure that the sprite that you want to do the action is selected. So if there's multiple sprites, you have to make sure you have the correct sprite selected before you code. Okay, so let me give you a quick demonstration of what I'm talking about. Let's say I wanted the cat sprite to turn. Let me zoom in a little bit so that you can see this. So if I want the cat sprite to turn a little bit, I can drag the turn block into the coding area, and then when I click on it, the cat turns. And if I wanted to continuously turn, I would go over to this control category of blocks right here and click on that, and that'll give me a bunch of control blocks. I'm going to drag on the forever block and put the turn 15 degrees inside my forever block, and when I click on that, the cat turns over and over again forever until I hit this this red stop button over here. Okay, so that's our very brief introduction to Scratch. Now let's get started on coding our game that I talked about. So the first thing I want to do is I want to set a background for our game. So I'm going to go over to the backdrops button, and it's in the bottom right corner over here. And I'm going to click on that. There's going to be a pop-up that comes up, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to click on that, and that will get you into a choose backdrop window. And for me, I like to make a simple background, so I'm going to select this blue sky background. I'm just going to click on it, and that will bring up the background into our stage. So let me click on that, and now we see the background in our Scratch stage. This is great. The next thing I want to do is I want to introduce a sprite. I want to get rid of this sprite that we have here. It's the default cat sprite. So I'm going to click on this garbage can right here and just get rid of it. And then I'm going to click on the new sprite button, and I'm not going to worry about this pop-up. I'm just going to click on the button over here. So I'm going to choose a sprite. And the sprite we're going to choose is the trampoline, the thing that moves back and forth in our game. So what we'll do is they're all alphabetical. They're all in alphabetical order, and I'm going to search for a trampoline. So I'm going to look for T's. Oh, and there's the trampoline. I don't know if you can see that. It's a very busy screen, but this is what I want to select. And you can even just type in trampoline in the search. So if I type in TRAM, and that'll come up too. So however you want to get to it, you want to click on the trampoline. And now we have a trampoline on our stage. But it's a little big. It's too big for our game. So what I'll do is I'll reduce its size. So over here in the size box, I'm going to click on the 100 and delete it and type in 50. So I'll reduce the size by half and see how that looks. That's pretty good. So here's my trampoline on the background, and what I could do is I want to drag it. So I'm going to right click on it, hold down my left click, hold down my left button, and then release it when the trampoline is on the ground of our background. Okay, so this looks good right now. What we want to do next is we want to code up the trampoline so that it follows my mouse. So when I move my mouse left and right, I want the trampoline to follow my mouse left and right. So the first thing I'll do is I'll go to my events block, which is right here. My events category, so I should say. I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to select this when green flag clicked block. I'm going to put that into my coding area. And what this does is every time I hit the green start button up here, the green flag, whatever is connected to this block is going to be executed. So the next thing we want to do is we want to let's say we want to have a forever loop, and we want the forever loop to follow. We want this block to follow my mouse. So I'm going to go to Control, and I'm going to get that forever loop like we did before, and I'm just going to click on it, and then I'm going to set the X and Y coordinates for this trampoline. So let's go to motion, which is right here. And I'm going to click on that, and there is a block that says go to X, Y right here. I'm going to go a little faster, so if I lose you, just hit the pause button, and we'll and then you can follow along that way as well. So anyway, I'm going to drag in the go to X, Y. And now what I want it to do is I want it to follow my mouse. So I'm in this forever loop. It's just going to continually go to an XY position, whatever I tell it. And I'm going to set the X position to the mouse X position. So for that, I'm going to hit the sensing block. And I'm going to scroll down here. Oh, here we are. So there's a mouse X block here. I'm going to drag that into the X value for the go to XY, and then I'm going to drag it, and then only when I get that halo in the value is when I want to release. So it'll light up a little bit, and then I want to let it go, and it'll place Scratch will place that mouse X value into my X value for the block. So let's hit the green flag and see what happens. So now, whenever I move my mouse back and forth, the trampoline is following it. So that's exactly what we want. We want to move back and forth. So I'm going to hit stop, and there's all this business about X and Y, and in case you're not familiar with that, this is called the Cartesian coordinate system, and it was invented by a French mathematician in like the 1600s. His name was René. I love saying French names. René. Everybody, let's say it with us. Say it together. René. So René, he was a mathematician, and so naturally he was very poor, and he needed to make money. He did have a cart, and to make money he would sell Starbucks coffee in the cart. So let's say this is René's cart, and he had some coffee, and he would deliver the coffee to people in Paris. So let's say let's pretend this is the mean streets of Paris in the 1600s, and he had customers that just woke up and they wanted their coffee. So they would scream out, René, where is the cart? I want the cart. So René would, let's say he was over here on this street corner, and the customer was up here. He figured out that if he walked in the X direction for 2 blocks, and if he walked up in the Y direction for 3 blocks, he could get to the customer. And that's how actually we get the name Cartesian coordinate system, because he had this cart that he would drag around. So that's what we mean by X and Y. The X position is this left and right of the on the Scratch stage, and the Y value is this up and down value on the Y stage. So it's what we call a two-dimensional coordinate system. You have Y here and X here, and you actually have negative Y on the bottom and negative X on the left. So that's what we're dealing with. If it looks mysterious, it's not that bad, and we'll visit that again a little later. So let's go back to our code. We've got a trampoline that is moving back and forth. The next thing we want, if you remember in our game, they had people jumping out of buildings and stuff. So let's introduce another sprite, and I'm going to click the choose new sprite button over here again, and let's see what we can do here. I'm going to go. I think I'll pick a tree. A tree seems very appropriate with our background. So I'm going to look for tree. I guess it's under T. Oh, here's some trees. I'm going to select this tree over here. You don't have to select a tree, but if you want to follow along, you can select this tree as well. And here's my tree. And I'm going to put the tree over to the right. So let me hit the green flag and see. Now my tree is looking a little different than I expected it to. Let me see if let me see if I refresh the page, it will look a little better. Oh, that's better. Okay. So here's the tree, and I'm going to place it over to the left, and I'm going to make sure it's on the ground. I want to make it pretty far to the left so that things that fly out of the tree go from left to right. And the next sprite I want to introduce would be the thing that's flying out of the tree. So we have the tall building or tree in this case, and I want to choose a sprite to come out of the tree, and I'm going to select an animal. So I'm going to click on this animal category, and let's see, we can select, this chick looks really cute. I'm going to select this chick. So click on that, and now we have a chick in our stage. So the chick is looking a little big. So I'm gonna change the size again. I'm gonna make it 50. We'll see how that looks. That looks pretty good. And what we'll do is we'll move the chick into the tree. So the tree is covering, or the chick is covered by, or in front of the tree. The next step we're going to do is we're going to select the events category, and we're going to move the when green flag is clicked block into our code area.
Hey, Dad. Guess
Hey, Simon's here. Hey, hang on, Simon. Let me introduce you. Hey, this is my son, Simon. What's up, Simon?
Hi.
I'm doing a live stream.
I made you this really nice cup of hot chocolate.
That's
here.
really nice of you, Simon. It's empty. Why are you
Yeah, I forgot to tell you I drank it all.
giving? Oh, well, thanks. Listen, I'm doing a lot. Spencer, you're here too. What
Yeah,
are
I
you doing?
got you a present.
What did you get me? That's
Here's
really...
your underwear.
Oh, Spencer, come. We're doing a live stream, guys.
Hey, Dad.
Bex, you too. What's up?
You know what this is?
What? It's a rainbow squishy.
Yeah. Do you know what it's for?
No, I don't know what it's for.
It's for squishing.
Oh, Bex, come on, guys.
Give
doing a live...
up your dreams.
Sorry.
This live stream is gonna fail. Can't you see your time?
I'm gonna kill you guys on live stream. God, doing a live stream. Ugh. Hey, sorry about that. There was a brief intermission there, but we're back. So, where were we? We had a chick in the tree, and I moved over the when green flag is clicked block into the coding area. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to have the chick move across the screen from left to right. So we want the chick to move this way, and we also want the chick to fly up as well. So I'm going to introduce two variables for the chick. And the way we do that is we're going to click on this variables category. So I'm going to click on variables, and then I'm going to click on make a variable, and this will create a dialog to create a new variable. Now this is important. You're going to have to click on this for this sprite only button. This is a button that you can't go back and change. So for this sprite, I'm going to create a velocity value of Vx for the x position. And I'm going to create a new variable, another variable, for this sprite only again, and I'm going to call it Vy for the y velocity. So I have these two velocity variables, and I can tell I did it right because I have a chick in front of Vx and Vy. If you don't have that, then you're going to have to delete your variable by right-clicking on Vx, let's say, and it says delete the variable, and you're going to have to redo it again. But make sure you click on the for this sprite only button, or so that you get that chick in front of the x and y. Okay. So the next step is to go back to the motion blocks and set the go to xy. Move that into right below the green flag, and then I'm going to go back to my variables, and let me set my let me drag out the set my variable to 0 block right over here, and I'm going to click on the my variable, and let's work with Vx for now. So I'm going to select Vx, and I'm going to change its value to, let's say, 3. The next thing I want to do is grab a forever block. So I'm going to go to Control, and I'm going to drag over my forever block and put that right below the set. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to change the x position of the chick by the Vx value. So let me show you that. I'm going to go to motion, and there's a block called change x by right over here. And I'm going to drag that into the forever loop. Boom. Okay, so I'm going to, right now, if I hit the green flag, the chick is going to move across by 10 pixels every time. And it's going to do this in the x direction, just like we were talking about. So every time it moves, it's going to, every time the forever loop makes a loop, it's going to execute this change x by 10, and it's going to add 10 to the position of the chick. And the x position increases as you go from left to right. But that's not what we want. We want to change x by the Vx value. So I'm going to go back to my variables category, and I'm going to drag over Vx into the value for the change x. And I'm going to wait for the value to kind of glow a little and release Vx. So now if I hit the green flag, the chick moves a little slower, but it's still moving from left to right, which is what we want. And now let's also change the y value. So we have the x value going this way. We're going to have the y value going this way. So it'll start up by going up. So I'm going to go back to my motions block and look for the change y by. So if you see this block here, the change y by 10, it's kind of exactly like the x. I'm going to drag that into my forever block. And then we'll go back to the variables. I'm going to need to set y, so I'll bring a set my variable to 0 block, and I'll put that right below the set Vx. Click on the my variable drop down and select the Vy here. And then I'm going to drag Vy into my change y by. Okay, and if we hit the green flag now, it's still going across from left to right and not going up because y is set to 0. If we change that to a 10, we should see the chick fly up in the air. So there it goes. It's flying up in the air. It's going a lot faster in the y direction than it is in the x direction. And when it hits the very top of the stage, it just kind of gets stuck there and moves across. So this looks good. Now, if you remember in our game, what we really want to do is we want to see the chick fall down and kind of hit the trampoline and then bounce around like this. So what we want to do is we want to introduce gravity, and the way we do that is by changing the velocity of the chick. So let me just quickly go on another tangent. So position is where the chick is on stage. So if I drag the chick around, you can see here that the x and y changes, and that's the position of the chick. So as I drag the chick over here, my x value and y changes. That's position. Velocity is the rate of change of position. So my Vx, which is the horizontal or left and right component of the velocity, is changing the x position every forever loop that we're going through. So velocity is the rate of change of position, and gravity is a form of acceleration, and acceleration is the rate of change of velocity. So what we want to do is we want to introduce velocity, and velocity is only up and down. So we're only going to move downward. We want to change Vy every forever loop. So every time we go on this loop, we want to change Vy, and we want to change Vy by a negative number, because in Scratch, down is a decrease in y. So I'm going to select the change my variable block, and I'm going to introduce that into my forever loop. And remember, I said we need the value to be a -1. So let's try that. I'm going to click on my variable, and I'm going to select Vy, and I'll hit the green flag. Oh, and there we go. The chick is kind of hopping out of the tree and then hitting the ground and kind of rolling across from left to right. Now the left and right speed is not being affected, so that's why it's slowly moving across the screen. But the y speed is starting off at 10 and then decreased by -1 every time this forever loop happens. So you can see that the chick is just hopping out and then falling back down because we're changing Vy by -1. So this is great. This is exactly what we want. The next thing I want to do is I want to write some code to have the chick bounce off the trampoline. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use an if-then statement. So an if-then is called a conditional statement, and you use the conditional statement to test some kind of condition. So I'm going to hit Control. I'm going to hit the Control category of blocks, and I'm going to drag out this if-then block over here. So here we go. I'm going to put that into my forever loop. And what I want to check is if the chick is touching the trampoline. So for that, I'm going to use the sensing blocks, and that's this block here, this category of blocks. And I'm going to select the touching mouse pointer block right on the very top. Now it says touching mouse pointer. We're not going to worry about that because we're going to change that. So I'm going to drag over this block into the if-then condition. Then I'll click on the mouse pointer, and I'm going to select the trampoline. And so now, if the chick is touching the trampoline, whatever is inside this if statement is going to get executed. And the way we make the chick hop when it hits the trampoline is we're going to use the magic of negative numbers. So if you don't know this, negative numbers have this really cool property that if you have a negative number multiplied by another negative number, it turns that number positive. So if I had some negative y value and I multiplied it by -1, I'm going to get a positive y value, because anything multiplied by 1 is itself, and anything times a -1 is the negative of itself. But if that thing is also negative, it'll turn positive. So this is how we're going to code a jump when it hits the trampoline. I'll show you that right here. I'm going to go to my variables block, and I'm going to select the set my variable to 0 block, and I'm going to put that in my if statement. And what we wanted to do is we have Vy is the speed of the chick going down, and whenever it hits the trampoline, I want to kind of flip it over, and I want to make Vy become positive. So what I'll do is I'll multiply it by a -1. So to do that, I'm going to go into my operators category. This is the green category, and I'm going to find the multiplication operator, which is this one. It looks like an asterisk, but that's the way Scratch shows multiplication. So I'm going to drag that into the value of my set variable block. I'm going to drop it in when it starts to become white and highlighted. And I'm going to click on my variable. I'm going to select Vy, which is the y speed. And now what I want to do is I want to set Vy, if we're touching the trampoline, to Vy multiplied by -1. So we have to go to variables to find Vy. We're going to drag Vy into here. Now I'm going to make sure you drop it into one side of the multiplication operation. It doesn't matter which one. I'm just going to select the left one here, but make sure it doesn't highlight the whole thing, or else you're gonna replace the multiplication operator by VY. You want to have the multiplication operator in the set block, and then the VY on one side of the multiplication operator. And now I'm going to click on the other one and type in -1. So let's see how that works. I'm going to hit the green flag again, and now I get the chick hopping off the trampoline. This is exactly what we want. This looks awesome. So I like this. The only thing is I think it needs a little interactivity, so I'm gonna have the chick do a little chirp every time it hits the trampoline. So I'm gonna go to sound, and I'm gonna select the start sound chirp. Don't select the until done, because we don't want the game to stop going until the chirp is done. We want to chirp and keep going at the same time. So let's select the start sound chirp and put that into our if statement. And now when I hit the green flag, oh, it makes a little chirp, and that looks great. Let me check again. Now, the only thing I don't like is, you see sometimes it glitches and it's touching the trampoline when it gets like caught inside the trampoline, and it starts to hop around. So to fix that, I'm going to ensure that when the chick hits the trampoline, I'm going to move the trampoline a little bit up so that it's always on the very top. It doesn't go like inside the trampoline for some reason if you're going sideways. So I'm going to change the X value of the chick when it's touching the trampoline. I'm just going to move it a little higher. So I'll click on motion, and I'm going to select the set Y block right here. I'm going to select that and put that into my if statement. Doesn't really matter where. And so we're going to move it up a little bit. Let me see, hang on. I'm going to try and put it like right on top of the trampoline. So that looks like the chick value has a minus 180 here. So I'll click on minus 180. I'll type in minus 180 in the set Y2. Let me see if that works. No, that's not good at all. We'll raise it up to like minus 150. Let's see if that works. Nope. We have to go a little higher. Let's go minus 130. Okay, that looks good. So every time it hits the trampoline, it's going to automatically move it above the trampoline a little bit, and then it's going to change the Y value, the Y speed value. So I think we're good. We have a lot coded so far. The chick is hopping across. The next thing we want to do is detect when the chick is over on the right side and kind of survives its fall from the tree. But before we do that, I want to change the code a little bit around to be able to add more than one chick to our game. So for that, we're going to use clones. Now, clones are kind of like what they sound. They're copies of the sprite. So if we wanted more than one chick, we could actually introduce more than one chick character, but that will get really complicated. We'd have to add in more chicks in our chick in our sprite panel, and we'd have to hide some in the beginning of the game and then introduce some. So it'll get messy. With clones, it's a lot easier to manage multiple sprites. So to use clones, I'm going to go over to Control, and over at the bottom here, this is where we have our clone blocks. So I will drag out a when I start as a clone block, and I'm going to drag all this code that we just did, I'm going to connect it to when I start as a clone. And the way I do that is I just select the very top block, hold down my mouse, and drag it into here. And now I will, in my main code, when I hit the green flag code, I'm just going to create a clone of the chick. And let's see if that works. So I'll hit the green flag, and now we have the original chick on the screen, and that stays there. And then whenever I hit the green flag, it's going to clone itself, and then you saw the other chick kind of hop across, and that's the clone chick. So here, I'll show you one more time. It's pretty simple. Now what I want to do is I want I don't want just one chick coming out. I want multiple chicks coming out. So let's do an experiment. Let's try a forever loop. So I'm going to hit Control, and I'm going to drag over this create clone of myself in the forever loop, and hit the green flag. Whoa! And now we see a bunch of chicks. They're getting cloned forever and ever. That's not really what we want. What we want is chicks to come out. I guess as we increase the score, we want more and more chicks to come out. So for now, let's do this code. Let's drag out an if-then statement. I'm going to drag the create clone of myself into my if-then statement, and I'm just gonna have Scratch just come up with a clone every once in a while using a random number. So I'm going to go back to my operators block, and I'm going to use this pick random number from 1 to 10, and I'm going to also use the equals operator. So I'll drag the equals operator into my if-then condition. I'll set the 50 to 1, and then I'll drag the pick random number from 1 to 10 to the other side. So now let's change 10 to 30, let's say. So now anytime Scratch picks a random number and it equals to 1, it'll create a clone of the chick. And I'll put that in the forever loop. Let's see how that looks. So now you see there's the chicks come out, but they don't come out all at once. And they come out every once in a while, but there's still a lot of chicks. So let's hit stop. But we'll get to that in a minute. We'll fix that. The other thing we can do with the random number is we can change the Y speed of the chick so that they're not always the same speed coming out. So I'm going to drag in my pick random number into my set VY under the clone code, and I'm going to change that from let's say 3 to 8. So we're going to set the Y speed from a 3 to an 8, and just going to let Scratch randomly pick a number. So if we hit the green flag, we should see some chicks go slowly and some chicks go fast. I think I want the chicks to go a little faster. I'm going to change this to a 10. Let's see if that works. Oh, you know what? Why don't I move that? I'm going to change that pick random number from 3 to 10. I'm going to put that in the VX value, not the VY, because I really want the chicks to move across the screen from left to right faster and slower, not up and down. Let's see if that that's much better. Now we have some chicks that are flying across and some chicks that are just slowly dropping down. So that looks really good. Let's introduce another variable, the score variable. So as we move the chick from left to right, we're going to increase the score. Now, if I'm going too fast, like I said, you can always pause and rewind if you need to if I'm losing you. So don't forget that. I know this code is getting a little complicated, but it's easy to catch up. So we have two blocks here. We have the when green flag is clicked, and we have a when I start a clone. And I'm going to introduce a variable called score. So I'm going to click on the make a variable button right over here. And this time it could be for all the sprites. So we'll just call it score, S-C-O-R-E. And I'm going to click OK. And now we have a score variable show up on our stage. We don't need the X and Y anymore. So I'm going to just click over here on this check mark over here. And I'm going to uncheck X and Y. And they'll disappear. And I'll drag the score up to the top left corner. And what we want to do is when the chick moves over to the right edge of the stage, we want to increase the score by 1. So in the beginning of the game, we'll set the score to 0. So I'll grab the set my variable block and I'll put it under the green flag, click on my variable and select score. And now we have set score to 0. And now in my clone code, I'm going to sense whether the chick is touching the right side of the screen. And when it is, I'm going to increase the score by 1. So for that, we're going to use an if-then statement again. So I'll go to my control blocks, find the if-then statement, and I'm going to add that to the bottom of my code. And the way we're going to figure out if the chick is at the edge of the screen is we're going to look at the position of the chick and see if it's greater than the maximum X value of the screen. So I'm going to go to my operators and select a greater than. This is the greater than operator. I'm going to drag that into the if-then condition. And for Scratch, the maximum X value is, I think, 240. So this X value of the chick, if it gets over 240, that means it hits the edge of the right screen. So I'm going to type in 240 instead of the 50. And all I need now is to get the X value of the chick. And that's going to be under motions block. And if you scroll all the way down, this is the X position. We're going to drag this block into our greater than condition. And I'm going to put it right in there. Okay. So this is where we sense that the chick is at the right side of the screen. Like I said, we're gonna increase the score by 1 if that happens. So I'm gonna go to variables, and I'm going to use the change my variable block and put that into my if statement. And then I'm gonna click my variable and hit score. So now when the chick is at the edge, it's going to increase the score by 1. So let's look at that. Let's hit the green flag. Oh, sorry. The green flag. Okay, now we see the score increasing in value because the chicks, all these clones are hitting the edge. Let me stop that for a second. The next thing we want to do is we actually want to delete the clone because we don't need it anymore. So I'm going to go to my control blocks and scroll down and find the delete this clone block and put it over here. So let's see that. So now the chick is moving across and it increased the score by 1. So this is better now. There's a problem when the chick hits the ground and touches the trampoline, but we'll handle that in a second. But this looks really good. Now we have the chicks going over to the edge and increasing the score. Okay, so what's next? We have the chick moving across. We have the changing. We have a score change. I think the next thing we have to do is sense when the chick is hitting the ground. So what's going to happen when the chick hits the ground? We have to first do some kind of if statement, and we're going to introduce a lives variable to keep track of how many lives we have. And then once it hits the ground, we're going to subtract lives from the lives variable. So let's get that started. The easiest way to do that, I think, is to just kind of reuse my if statement that I had for when the chick hit the right edge of the screen. So I'm going to right click on this if statement. I'm gonna just right click on this then, and that'll bring up a dialog where we can just click duplicate, and I'm gonna drag this code just kind of in like some empty space, and we're gonna just fiddle with this. So to check if the chick is hitting the ground, we're just gonna check the Y position of the chick and make sure that we're gonna test if it's below some value. Let's say I think for the edge of the screen for Scratch on the bottom is like a minus 180. So we're gonna see if the chick is less than minus 180. If the Y position of the chick is less than 180. So I'm gonna grab this greater than condition. I'm going to just throw it away by putting it in the code palette, and then I'm going to go to operators, and I'm going to select the less than condition. So it's this one. I'm going to select that and put that in my if statement. And for the condition value, I'm going to do minus 180, and in the other side of the condition, I'm going to just select the Y value, the Y position of the chick. So I'm going to go to Motion, scroll down, and select the Y position and put that here. Now instead of score, we're going to change the lives. So let's go to variables. We're going to make a new variable called lives. Lives, and this is also going to be for all sprites, and I'm going to hit OK. And now if I click on score, hopefully we'll see lives. Yep. And instead of changing lives by 1, I'm going to change it by -1. Okay. And I'm going to drag this if statement inside my clone loop. So here's my clone code. So we have an X position if statement and a Y position if statement. And let's see what happens when I hit the green flag. So the chick is bouncing in, and now we see whenever the chick hits the ground, the lives change. Now it's going to negative numbers, but we'll fix that in a second. I'd like to add some kind of sound effect when the chick hits the ground. So what we'll do is we'll introduce a new sound, and what the way to do that is to select this sounds tab. So I'm going to hit the sounds tab, and over here in the bottom of the screen you can add a new sound to our sprite. So I'm going to select this sound, choose a sound button, and let's try and find a cool sound effect. So I'm going to select the effects category of sounds right here, and I'm going to look for maybe a bonk. No, that doesn't sound good. So you can hover over the sound, and it'll play you what it sounds like. So let's see. No, that's not a good sound. Let's see. Okay, I like the clank sound. I think we're going to go with that. Now you can select whatever sound you want, but I'm going to select a nice short clank. So if you hit play, that's the sound it's going to make when it hits the ground. So now I'm going to go back to our code tab. I'm going to go to sound, and this time I'm going to select play sound clank until done. Oh, you know what? I shouldn't do. I should do start sound clank. And I'm going to put that in. This is zoomed out way too much. Hang on a second. I'm going to put that over here on my if statement that I'm working on. So I'm going to start sound clank, and I put that right before I delete this clone. I like that. So now whenever the chicks hit the ground, they're going to make a nice clank. And the only thing else that I want to do is I want to kind of give feedback that the chick is actually hitting the ground. So let's add a delay before we delete the clone. So I'm going to go over to, I think it's control. Yeah. So go to the control blocks, and you see this wait 1 second. I'm going to drag that in right before the delete this clone, and I'm going to change it to like a 0.3 seconds. Okay, so we have this if statement. We have when the chick is below the ground, we're going to change lives by -1. We're going to make a clank sound, and we're going to wait 3 seconds. I'm going to see what that looks like. Come on, chicks. Here we go. Okay, that's really cool. The chicks look a little too low to me when they hit the ground. So let's raise them up a bit. Let's go to minus 160. I'm going to see how that looks. So if the Y position is less than minus 160, okay, that looks really good. And the other thing I want to do, I think what would make this game even more fun is if the chicks were spinning around a bit as they were flying through the air. So let's go to our motions blocks. And we're going to select the turn 15 degrees block. And I'll just put that at the very bottom. And let's change it to 5. Let's see how that looks. Oh, yeah. I love it. So they're bouncing around. They're hitting the trampoline. And hitting the ground. This game is coming out amazing. So we have a few more things to do. Let's work on our game over to detect when the lives are at 0. So let's go over and create a new sprite. Now at this time I'm going to use the graphics editor in Sprite. Sprite is amazing. It has its own graphics editor, so we can make a game over graphic when we get to lives of 0. So I'm going to hit on choose a new sprite right over there, and then I'm going to make sure I hit the paintbrush. And when I click on this paintbrush, we're going to be in the graphics editor. Okay, so here we are on the graphics editor, and the first thing I want to do is I want to choose a cool color for my game over color. So over where it says fill, right here, you can click on the color and select the color that you like. So I'm getting a sign from Bex to use pink. Okay, Bex, we will use, how does this pink color look? Yes? Okay. So we're going to go with this nice pink color. And now I'm going to select my text tool here. And I'm going to click on this T. And now I'm going to click somewhere in this blank area, and I'm going to write game over. Okay, so now we can see it on the stage. It looks a little small, so I can also use this arrow tool to and drag one corner of the text and make it bigger. You can also change the size like we did with the sprite in the sprite window, but we don't need to do that here because we're already in this graphics. So I'm gonna size the text appropriately and kind of move it into the center of the stage. That's all we have to do in our graphics editor. Now what I'm going to do is click on my code tab. So here we are back in the code tab. I have a game over sprite, and the very first thing we should do is hide the game over when we first start the game. So I'm going to go to events, click on the green flag clicked, drag that into my coding area, and I'm going to go to looks, which is right there. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, we'll have there's a hide and show block. We're going to need both of them. One is to hide the game over sprite, and one is to show it. So let's drag both of them into our code area. We're going to use the show in a minute. So I'm going to take the hide block and I'm going to click it onto my green flag. And what we want to do is we want this sprite to actually set lives to 3. So I'm going to go to variables, and I'm going to get the set lives to, and then I'm going to change that to 3. If lives doesn't show up on your drop down right away, just click on it and select it. Okay, so here we have in the beginning of the game we hide the game over and we set lives to 3. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to constantly monitor lives. We're going to make sure that when lives is equal to 0 or less than 1, we're going to show the game over, and then we're going to stop everything. So I'm going to go to my control block, and I'm going to grab another forever loop, click that onto set lives, and basically monitor lives. And that's going to be another if-then statement. So I'm going to grab that if-then block, put that in my forever loop, and we're going to check if lives is less than 1. So we're going to go to operators. I'm going to select the less than operator and put that into my if-then condition. Change 50 to 1. Then I'm going to go back to my variables blocks. I'm going to find the lives block and put that into my less than condition. So if lives is less than 1, I'm going to show my game over sprite. And what I want to do is I want to stop the game. So we're going to go to control. This is the control blocks. And there is a stop all block right here. We'll see if that works. We may have to add a little delay, but I'm going to put the stop all in my if statement. So let's try the game out. Let's hit the green flag and see what happens. Oh, game over. It didn't stop it. Oh, now I guess it stopped. Let me try that one more time. So we have lives at 3. And lives at 0, and then everything stops. So that looks good. I'm gonna, let's see. Are we missing anything? Oh, you know what's kind of weird? That this chick is up in the tree. So what I want to do is actually just put the chick behind the tree. And that's really easy in Scratch. I'm just gonna click on the tree, shake it around a little bit, and now the tree is in front of the chick. And I'm going to grab also the trampoline, shake that around, and make sure the trampoline is in front of the tree. So let me hit the green flag. And that looks really good. Now that the chick is behind the tree, we just see the clones hopping out. So that's perfect. The last thing is there's way too many chicks coming out in the beginning. If you see that. So what we want to do is we want the game to be progressively harder as your score gets higher. So I'm going to go to my chick sprite, make sure that's selected. I'm going to change the code a little bit. So if you remember, we have a forever loop in our main green flag code, and all it's doing is just picking a random number from 1 to 30, and if it's equal to 1, it's just going to make a clone. So it's just constantly looking for a 1 in this random number of 1 to 30 and picking a clone. What we want to do is we want to first see we want to see how many chicks are in the game, and then we want to calculate how many chicks we should have based on the score. So I'm just thinking about this. What we want to do is we want to keep a chick count. So we'll go to variables, and I'm going to create another variable called chicks. And this is for all sprites, CHICKS. And I'm going to create a chicks variable. So now we have a chicks count. And what we want to do is we want to set the chicks count to 0 in the very beginning of the game. So I'm going to drag in the set chicks to 0 right below the green flag clicked. Now every time we add a chick, we're going to increase the chick count by 1. So I'm going to drag in the change chicks by 1. I'm going to put that into the right below the if random condition here. And the other thing we want to do is we want to decrease the chicks count by 1 whenever we delete a clone of the chick. So when we create a clone, we're adding 1, and if you remember over here we have some if statements, like when the chick reaches the right edge of the screen, we delete the clone, but we're also going to change the chick count by -1. So I'm going to drag in this change chicks by 1. I'm going to put that right above the delete this clone, and I'm going to change the 1 to a -1. And we also have to do that when the chick hits the ground. So I'm going to go to right above the delete this clone. I'm going to get another change chick block and put that in there and do a -1. So if your chicks variable doesn't show up, just select it. And if we run this code, we should see the number of chicks go up. So here's 1 chick, 2 chicks, and as they hit the ground, they get subtracted. Okay, so that looks good. The next thing we'll do is we're going to now base how many chicks come out we're going to base that on the number of chicks and the score. Okay, so for this, we're going to add another if statement. I'll just put this over in an empty space so that we can work on it without getting cluttered. So I'm going to drag this if then statement. And what I want to do is compare the score, compare the number of chicks to the score. So if the chick number is less than some value of the score, we're going to create more chicks. So I'm going to go to operators. I'm going to select the less than operator, put that into my if then condition. And I'm thinking if the number of chicks, let's say we multiply the number of chicks by 10. So actually, let's try it out. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to add I'm going to add 1 to my score. When the score is 0, I'm going to add 1 to the score, and I'm going to multiply the number of chicks by 10. And I'm going to go to variables. So on one side, I'm going to have chicks multiplied by 10. And on the other side, I'm going to have a score plus 1. Whoops. So this is a little hard. So this is what you should have. So when we first start out, we have the number of chicks is 0, and the score is going to be 0. So is 0 times 10 less than 1? That's going to be true, and it's just going to make more chicks. And as soon as we have another chick, then it's going to be, is 10 less than 1? And that's going to be false, so it's not going to make any more chicks. And as your score increases, it's going to add more chicks. So this is the code that I'm looking for. I'm going to move the if, this whole if block, I'm going to move into this if statement right here. And then I'm going to put that whole thing into the forever loop. So let me show you. I'm going to drag this into my if, like that. And then I'm going to drag this into the forever loop. I know this is a little bit of tricky, so make sure you pause the video if this is hanging you up. But let's see what happens when I start the game. So here's one chick. Here's the next chick. So we're looking for this chick the score value to increase to at least 11. So you're watching me play this game, which is kind of awesome. And let's see if we get more chicks coming out soon. Oh, that was a speedy chick. And I love the way they tumble around. So my score is at 9. Now we should see another chick soon. Oh, there's another chick. Now they're coming out faster. Oh, there we go. Now we have 2 chicks flying out at the tree at the same time. This is great. So let's see what happens when we get to 21. We should have 3 chicks. Whoop, I died. I'm not very good at this. Susie was right. She shouldn't have let me play. Here's 1 chick, 2 chicks, 3 chicks! Yay! Oh, this game is so awesome. Oh my god. All right. It looks like it's working beautifully. Bex wants to play. Yeah, you can. Hang on. You come over, Bex, and you can play. But the last thing I want to do before we do this is I want to hide the chicks count. We don't need that. Oh. So I'm going to select chicks. It's okay. It's almost over. And then I'll move the lives over to here to make it look more professional. All right, you want to try it, Bex? You want to hit? All right, here she goes.
I'm really bad at this game.
Okay, you're doing great. You haven't lost any lives.
I love this game.
It gets harder. You're gonna have a lot more chicks coming out. Your score is 7. While you're doing that, I'm gonna check the chat.
Okay. Ah. I told you I'm horrible at this game.
Uh-oh. Yeah, you're doing pretty good. You got 15. Oh, nice. Very nice. 16. That's the high score right now. All right, cool. So I can't think of anything else to do on this game. I think it's working pretty good. I'm gonna share it. So and I'll put it in the studio. And let's actually go back to the studio and see if there are any more Scratch games contributed to our studio. I'm just looking really quickly at our at the chat, and I don't think there's any problems so far. I guess some people I was going too fast for, so you can always pause and catch up to me, and you can leave me messages on Scratch if there are any problems, or you can leave me messages in the comments. Let's go to the studio. Shared my studios. And let's check out if there are any more projects. Okay, we got another project that was submitted to the Scratch Studio. I'm going to check it out. So use the WASD keys to move. Space lets you dash and point with the mouse. Okay, let's try that. Whoa! Am I supposed to get the taco? Oh, avoid the evil tacos. Evil tacos are trying to fill the world. Oh, and I'm supposed to... They're trying to come after me. And oh, so this is like the space bar is the hyperspace. This is awesome. I love this game. This game is super cute. I got a score of 2. I don't know if maybe that's how many lives I have left. Let me try and get hit by another taco. Oh, 1! Oh no! This game is awesome. Nice work. This is Jawa 06. Oh, and it rates how long you can stay alive. Very, very, very nice game. Super creative. I love it. So that... Oh, you know what I wanted to show? I wanted to show you one more game. This is something that I added to the... I added to our Scratch Day studio, and it's just a quick project I made yesterday to test out Scratch. So when I hit the green flag, this is a Mother's Day card. So when I hit the green flag, we get a special message for Mom. Mother's Day is tomorrow, by the way. So what you do is you can customize your message, and as these little hearts fill up, it makes a message, and you kind of have to slowly watch it change. And look inside for sure. Code. Oh, for this code, yeah. Yeah, you can look inside. I'm getting messages. You can look inside all of the games, and you can look inside the code to see how they work. And for this particular one, this Mother's Day card, you can also change it around and put whatever special message you want to give to your mom or your grandmother for her birthday. Not for birthday, for Mother's Day. You can do that for a birthday too. All you need to do is change the card. So I don't know if you could tell, but it says "I love you," and it slowly fills up. There's a turbo mode in Scratch, and if I click on green flag, it'll fill it up. So that's what it looks like if you just leave it running. And this is, if you hit this See Inside button, you can actually check out the code. It's not very difficult. It's not difficult code. It's much simpler than the one that we just went through. So there's just three sprites. I don't know if you can see that. One is an I love you sprite, which just has this little bit of code, and a heart sprite, and a other sprite that just says click here. So anyway, that's my little Mother's Day card on Scratch, and the idea is that you actually send the full-blown the full screen link to somebody. So you have to share the project, and then if you see this link, if you share your project, then anybody could go on this link and open up your project. And if you do full screen, then they see this thing. So that's your Mother's Day card project. So let's go back to our project. And here is our project. I'm just going to run it one more time. I think it's an awesome game. I hope Susie is very jealous that even though she never let me play her with her gamepad, I hope she sees the error of her ways. I feel a little cathartic. I feel a little vindicated now. So I hope you had fun. I'm so happy you guys joined me on Scratch Day. You know, leave a comment if you have any questions with Scratch. And this is the first time I'm doing a YouTube video with Scratch, but if we do another one, I think if you subscribe, you could probably get notified if I do more. What's up, Bex?
Hi Annika, hi Claire, hi my classmates.
Hi Bex's classmates. I hope you had fun.
Share your project so they can look at the code to troubleshoot.
Yeah, if you have any problems with your code, just share your project and add them onto our Scratch Studio, and I'll try and help you out and fix the code if there's a problem.
And you put your project up.
I've already shared my project. I think I've shared my project, but let me see.
Yeah, you sure did.
Did I? Let's see.
Sure.
Oh, shared, yeah. So my project is shared. I'm going to put it into the Scratch Studio. So I'm going to try and figure out how to do that. Oh, I think I know how.
You put the Mother's Day one.
Yeah, I know how to. I'm going to go to Add to Scratch Day 2000 Home Edition Studio. So my project is in the Scratch Day Studio. And then you can look inside the project at the code to make sure if you have any problems with your code, you can look at my code as a reference. But you can also make this project your own. You know, you could always go and change the background so we can have, let's say...
Oh, it would be cool if you had a bedroom and the chicks were bouncing
Oh,
off the
yeah.
bed.
Let's see. Where's the bedroom, Bex?
Bedrooms. The chicks can bounce off the bed or clothes.
That would take some work, but
Yeah.
we can have it in. We can have a tree. We don't even have to have the tree in space. What we could do is we can go to our costumes. We can add a new costume. So let's see. I think there's a spaceship. Rocket ship. Yeah, we'll add this rocket ship in here. We'll make it bigger. Let's see if this. Whoa. I'm just trying to cover up the chick. So let's see if we can have our chicks in space game working. I'm gonna go to full screen, and now we have a completely new game where you have chicks flying out of a rocket ship, landing on a trampoline on another planet. So how cool is that? Scratch is amazing. All right, I'm glad you stayed with me through this whole thing. Thank you for joining us on Scratch Day. I hope this event has brought us closer together, even though we're social distancing. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. You want to say bye, Bex, one more time? Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining.